Okay, so the last component in the mix we're going to look at today is the vocals. So I've got one vocal track. It might be worth going through it and just correcting some of the timing if you find there are a few bits out. Same as with the guitars, just turn flex time on, go to polyphonic and just drag around any little bit that's slightly off the grid, you'll hear it. So I've done that to mine and I've just bounced it in place. So I've committed all the flex processing just to save on some CPU because we've got quite a lot of plugins going on at the moment. So I've just got my dry vocals and just line them up with the track. We'll give them a quick listen.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions had an echo in so much space.
So the key thing with vocals, if you want to get a good vocal sound, is quite simply use a good singer in a good room with a good mic. Fortunately, we've got that here. I say the main thing we need to do processing wise is that its levels are quite inconsistent. You can see on the region waveforms itself, there's parts like this which are really loud, and then some parts are just getting lost. So in order to correct the sort of dynamic range, first thing I'm going to use is a compressor. So I've got all my plugins here, they're just turned off at the moment. We'll go through them one by one. So this is my first compressor. I'm using the classic VCA again. So this is our sort of 1176 copy. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick it on a 4:1 ratio. And I'm just going to solo the track. I'm just going to solo the track for a bit and just see what we've got here.
I remember when I lost my mind.
I want to be quite heavy-handed.
There was something so pleasant about that place.
Knocking 6 to 8
Even your
dB
emotions
off
had
on
an
the loud
echo
bits.
in so much space.
Let's just fast forward to the chorus.
Crazy, does that make me crazy?
So some pretty extreme compression there, but what that's going to do is really clamp down those peaks and just boost up these quieter bits.
Does that make me crazy?
It's looking to level match with the makeup gain.
Possibly. And I hope that you are having the time of your life.
So we've got about the same coming in and coming out, but those loud bits are being really squashed and the quieter parts just being lifted up. Okay, so I've got a second compressor. And this one is just going to catch anything that the first one doesn't. So I've got a just normal standard Logic's Platinum compressor. I've got a 2:1 ratio, so a lot more gentle. The attack's set quite medium to slow. I don't want to be hitting those peaks with this. This is more of a sort of general smoothing out. So sort of medium attack, medium release. And I just want to be knocking about no more than 2 dB off with this one.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions had an echo in so much space. When you're out there without a care, yeah, I was out of touch.
So it's only moving on these louder bits. Again, we go to the chorus.
Crazy, does that make me crazy?
It's just doing a general overall level. So I've got quite a reasonable low threshold there. And it's making up 1 to 2 dB. So there shouldn't be too much difference in volume between the uncompressed vocal and our processed one. Right, next up, there's quite a few. So what I'm using a de-esser, and Logic's had a recent update with a new de-esser, which is this de-esser 2. And this is a bit more intuitive than the old de-esser, and there's a couple of different modes on it. So you now have absolute mode, which is what it opens up with, but you've also got relative. So absolute, whatever you set the threshold to, that's where it's going to start cutting off those sibilant noises. With relative, you set your approximate threshold and then it actually adjusts it based on the incoming signal. So it's a lot more responsive. So I'm going to be using relative mode for this, and all I'm going to do, let's just solo the frequency range, just find where those S's are. You hear those real sounds coming there. So my sort of frequency, I'm going to set around that sort of 7K bands. And then my threshold, I just want it to be start acting. So your yellow bar. Generally I find sort of around that between sort of 4 and 5 o'clock. And then my reduction is the most it will take off. I want to set that somewhere in the gentle to medium range.
I just knew too much.
So just clamping down those S's.
Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy?
Finally, I've set the range to wise. It's a little bit less specific, so a bit gentler than using the split mode. And my filter is on the first of the two options rather than a specific band. We don't just want to cut 7K, we want to cut everything above that when the S's come in. So that sounds a little bit smoother now. It's almost like a compressor just for the high frequencies. And then finally, speaking of high frequencies, we've got an EQ. So I've got my standard 100Hz filter, just rolling off anything below 100. It's not in the voice, it's just mud that's going to muddy up the mix. And then I've got a sort of subtle boost around the 200, just to add a bit of warmth. We'll listen to that.
Crazy. Does that make me crazy? Possibly.
So she's adding a bit more body to the voice. And then I've just gone through and boosted a few frequencies and just found a few of the real honks.
And I hope
Hear that real awful ring on that, so I'm going to cut that one and 750. Just knock about 6 off, and then the same, there's another one about 1K.
that you are having the time of your life, but think twice.
Got a little bit of a boost around 2.5, and then using a bit of air up at the 10K, so just adds a bit of top end, lets it really cut through. And that's sort of quite a standard EQ shape for a female voice that I'd use. Compare it, nothing too extreme.
That's my only advice. Who do you think you are? Ha ha ha, bless your soul.
It's got a bit more presence, a bit more warmth, just enhancing the bits we want to. And then finally with the vocals, I've got it going at a vocal bus, because in a minute we're going to fake a backing vocal. And on the vocal bus, I've just got an adaptive limiter, so under dynamics, adaptive limiter. And I've set my output ceiling just to -0.2. I've got no gain on this. I don't want to be turning the level up. This should just clamp down, stop any peaks, and really make it punch the mix. Let's give it a listen.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions had an echo in so much space.
Cool, sounding a lot more consistent. So, the fun stuff now. I've set up a vocal reverb and a vocal delay bus. On the reverb, I've used a Space Designer. I've gone for one of my favourite presets, which is, if I can find it, in the large you've got a vocal plate. And I find this is a nice reverb just to kind of really set off the vocals. I've got an EQ under it, just cutting again any of that low end.
When you're out there without a care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too make me crazy?
So just a little bit of reverb, give it a bit of space. And then with the delay, I'm using the Sanders stereo delay in Logic. I've just set up a couple. I've got the left delay a little bit shorter and the right delay a little bit longer. The left one's sort of a 180 milliseconds sort of triplet, and then the right one is a 240, more of a straight eighth note. So they're slightly different. And with this one, I've also done some EQ. So I've cut the lows up to 200. We don't want to be delaying the bass ends, and taking the highs down a bit, just to kind of separate the delay from the lead vocal. Let's give this a listen.
Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. And I hope that you are having the time of your...
Just up the feedback a bit, just give it a bit more. Oh, you can hear it a bit clearer. Okay. Now, reverb and delay, it's a personal thing. Generally, I find it best to use less rather than more, but also judge it in the track. Don't do it solo. It sounds completely different solo. If I play on its own,
life,
it sounds really reverb and delay, but in the track,
but think twice.
It's nowhere near as extreme. So you really need to have the rest of the mix going first. Last little step with the vocal, I'm actually going to duplicate the channel and fake some backing. So just copying this one down and calling this vocal DT or double track. Ideally you want to have multiple takes of the vocal, get your singer to sing it twice and have a real double track. But we don't have that in this case, so I'm just going to fake it. So when someone's singing the same song twice, you'll find further takes will be slightly different in pitch and in timing. So we're going to approximate that. Now I could use a pitch plugin on this, but you find it has a lot of latency. So instead, I'm going to go to our region tab up here, then just on the double track, leaving this one completely dry. And I'm going to go to this fine tune here. Now this turns flex pitch on. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to knock it down, click and drag about 7 cents. And if I just stereo the vocals together.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions had an echo.
You get that kind of chorusy sound because the pitch is subtly different. We don't want to be doing semitones, just this little sense here. No more than 10. And then again, to change the timing, I'm going to add a bit of a delay. So this is like a sample delay here. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag that up. Or you can use the presets on the sides. I find sort of around a sort of 64th is about right.
I remember when I lost my...
So it's subtly different, but enough to give a sort of double track sound. And I'm just going to pull this one right down in the mix.
Mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions had an echo in so much space. When you're out there without a care, yeah, I was out of touch.
Sounding good. Last thing you can do is just some sort of automation on the vocals. So we've evened the level out a lot with the compressor. But if there's still some parts getting lost, if you press A on your keypad, it brings up automation. And you can just go through the lead vocal and any little lines that are a bit quiet.
Come on now, who do you?
Do a dot either side and just notch that up. dB or 2.
Come on now, who do you think you
So you can just really level it out and get everything nice and consistent. And there we go. I'd ideally go through the rest of it and automate those vocals, get all the volume right, and then we are pretty much there with this.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions had an echo in so much space.